What's happening, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the 2020 Ford F150 Lariat. Now the one that we're looking at behind me is powered by a 3.5 liter EcoBoost engine, which means it's going to be able to pull. So it's got 375 horsepower, 470 foot-pounds of torque. With the configuration we've got, 20-inch tires, short box, 4x4, it's going to be able to pull up to 12,500 pounds. That is huge for a truck. Couple other things, the one in behind me has the Sport package, which means that it's gotten rid of the majority of the chrome on the vehicle. So if you're the kind of guy you don't like chrome on your truck, you're in for a little bit of a treat. Let's take a look at this vehicle, have a little bit of fun, and see what it's all about. Now, when it comes to trailer tow capabilities on the F-150, it's going to vary widely based off of what your configuration is. So a couple things to point out. Looking at the truck here, it's got the full trailer tow package because it's the Lariat, but it's a 4x4 SuperCrew with a 3.5 liter engine, 3.55 axle ratio, and it's got 20-inch tires. That full configuration is going to allow us to tow up to 12,500 pounds. If you went from the 20-inch tires down to the 18s that would come standard, you'd be able to pull about 10,700 pounds in comparison. So adding in those 20-inch tires gives us an extra, 1,800 pounds in towing capacity. So make sure that you talk to your Ford rep to ensure that you're getting the right configuration based off of your needs for towing. Now, one of the nice things about the F-150 Lariat is that we've got this power button for the tailgate. So all we're going to do is press that button twice, and it's going to automatically power that down for us. So really, really useful. Just going to move you back here just a tiny little bit. And the reason why is because this thing also has the tailgate step. So what we're going to do is take a peek at how that works. It's very straightforward. So I always recommend getting the tailgate step, especially if you're going to be jumping in and out of the back of the truck fairly frequently. Now, when it comes to the tailgate step, very straightforward. You've got a button in the back here. All you're going to do is press. It's going to bring the step out. We're just going to pull. And then we're just going to follow the yellow. So we're going to grab this. We're going to lift it up, lock it into place, and you're set to go there. All you're going to do is hop on up. But it just makes it so much more convenient to get into the bed of the truck using this tailgate step. Closing it up is also very simple. All we're going to do, same thing, follow the yellow. So we're going to go 1, down, 2, down and in, 3. All we're going to do is lift up, push it back into place, and you're good to go from there. All right, few things to point out with the key fob. At the top of the fob here, we've got our unlock button, our lock button, remote start. We've got the tailgate release, as well as our horn or a panic alarm button. At the very bottom here, if for whatever reason your fob's not working, you need emergency access to the truck, we can just take the key fob out here, and then boom, plug it back in, and you're set to go. In order to be able to remote start this thing, what we're going to do is press this lock button once, and the circle button here twice. So the truck's been remote started there. In order to cancel the remote start, we're just going to press that circle button once. All right, now when it comes to spacing, the SuperCrew, it's going to be really, really hard to beat the amount of space that's in the back of this thing. If you've got a group full of guys that are coming with you to a job site, tons of room. If you need to have a child seat in the back here, rear or front facing, tons of room. Looking here, so the Lariat is a beautiful vehicle. It's got nice leather seats. In the back here, one of the benefits is that the driver and the passenger side rear seat are also heated. Really, really nice. As I mentioned, room. So one of the nice things about the F-150 Crew is that you've got the ability to fold the seats up as well. There's a tab just in the back here. We're going to crank that tab and lift up. And as you can see here, we've got a ton of extra room. If you need to throw tools in the back here, you've got a pet, whatever the case may be. And there is a little bit of storage underneath both seats as well. Now, both seats can get folded up. The kicker with the side seat, though, there is a built-in power inverter, which is stored just underneath that seat. When it comes to actual headroom on this thing, so this one does have that twin panel moonroof, so we lose a little bit of headspace. I'm 6 feet tall, and I still have about 1.5 inches of room in this seat. If you've got a taller guy that's going to be with you, you could look at the front seat there for him, or in the middle seat here, You're still pretty tight, so you're still about an inch or so of head clearance space in the back here. So anyone that's really taller than I'd say 6'2", 6'3" or so, they may need to sit in the front or the back seat with this cover for the twin panel moonroof rolled all the way back. There are a couple buttons to point out in the back here. As I mentioned, the driver's side and the passenger side seat are both heated. So we've got our heated buttons just right at the very top here. So just simple button press in order to turn that on. This is going to be one of your traditional cigarette lighter adapters. Now, a couple other ones as we move down. This is going to be your dual USB. So if you need to plug anything in USB power, you can do that here. Now, one of the nice things about the 302 F150 and looking at the Lariat, so the 501 and the 502, is that you've got a built-in inverter here as well. So you can plug in a traditional wall outlet into the back of the truck. Really, really useful if you have maybe an abundance of USB items that you're plugging in the back here. If you need to run a laptop, whatever the case may be, you can do that. This rear seat does have cup holders. So all we're gonna do, crank that down, lift down, and then all we can do. So button press, that's gonna slide out. All we have to do is lift back, push it back into place there. Now, starting off at the top along the door here, at the very top, we've got the ability to control our side view mirrors. So those very top buttons, whatever one's highlighted, that's gonna be the button that you're working on, the side view mirror that you're working on. Moving down is gonna be our directional pad. We would be using that pad in order to actually be able to control that mirror. Moving down, so one on the left-hand side here, if we have the standard mirror, that's going to give us the ability to power fold them. So we can fold those mirrors in if you're getting into a tight spot. Now, having said that, this one does have the power telescoping trailer tow mirrors. So with it telescoping, pressing that button there gives you the ability to move the mirrors further or closer towards the vehicle, just depending on what your personal needs are for your trailer. Moving down, we've got our traditional, so our window buttons up and down. Now, one of the nice things about the Lariat is that it also does have power seats, and it also does have seat memory. Now, whether you choose to use the seat memory or not is your personal preference, but if you have a number of people getting in and out of the truck, I absolutely recommend it. All you're gonna do, set up your seat, set up your steering wheel, set up your preference for your side view mirrors. Once those are all done, all you're gonna do is press and hold the 1, 2, or 3 button here, and it's going to remember your preferences. Okay, next up, we're gonna be taking a look at some buttons just along the left-hand side of the steering wheel here. So first off, we've got these 2 buttons at the top. That's going to be for our side view mirrors, the lighting there. So it's really, really useful if you're working in the nighttime. So you can have some exterior lighting on the truck. Moving down, we've got our fog lamp. Down from that is going to be our LED box lamp. One other thing to point out in the back of the truck here, as you can see, we do have these LED lights that are going right now. Works really, really nicely if you're gonna be doing any sort of work late at night. So we're incredibly great for that. You do have the ability to manually turn it on or off inside of the truck, but once you're locked up, it will turn off automatically as well. You don't need to worry about looking for buttons and pressing things. It's automatically going to switch off. Now, we've got a few things for this rotary dial here. The rotary dial is going to be used for our daytime or our nighttime running lamps. There's really only 2 settings that you should be concerned about, all the way to the left and all the way to the right. All the way to the left means that the lights are off. So the daytime and the nighttime running lamps won't come on whatsoever. When you turn it all the way to the right, that's when we're in our auto setting. So the vehicle is going to determine whether the daytime or the nighttime running lamp should be on based off of the ambient light outside. So how dark or how bright is it outside? A couple other things moving off a little bit more are going to be our dimmer switches. So plus and minus gives us the ability either to make the instrument cluster or and the sync 3 screen a little bit darker or brighter based off of your personal preference. 2 more as we move down. We've got our parking brake, as well as our pedal adjustment. So electronic pedal adjustment, which is available in the Lariat, which is a fantastic feature for people who are maybe a little bit vertically challenged. So very straightforward. All you're gonna do is adjust as necessary. Now, one of the nice things about the Lariat with its seat memory settings, it will remember your preference for the pedals as well. So make sure you adjust your pedals as part of adjusting the steering wheel and the seat so that it can remember your personal preference. Now, adjusting the driver's seat on this thing is very, very straightforward. Just along to our left-hand side on the driver, right-hand side on the passenger, we have a series of switches. On the very front, so this one here is going to allow us to bring the seat backwards or forwards. We can lower the seat, or we can raise the seat up. Next one over is going to be for our backrest, so we can move that forwards or backwards. And then the last one is going to be our power lumbar support. So if we need a little bit of extra back support there, we've got the flexibility and the capability to do that. When it comes to the steering wheel, very, very simple to adjust. Just off to our left-hand side here, right below that turning stick, we've got a button, so a directional pad. So the steering wheel is telescopic and powered. So we can move it up, down, in and out just using this button here. Once you've got that setting set up, your seat set up, your pedals are set up down here, and your side view mirrors, press and hold 1, 2, and 3 on the driver's side door in order to remember your personal preference. Okay, now this is the screen we're going to be met with when we first turn the truck on, so we are on the home screen. Now, if for whatever reason you're on any other screen, you need to get back home, all we're going to do at the very top, we're just going to press that home icon. Perfect. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got a little bit of a summary of what's going on inside of the truck. So we've got the navigation built in, which is going to be standard in the Lariat model and above. We've got whatever station's currently playing. If our phone was connected, it would show what song is currently playing. Moving down, we've got the ability to add a phone. We're going to be doing that in just a second. And we can turn the heated steering wheel on or off from the screen. Moving down into audio. So tons of things here. We've got our sources. We can change between AM, FM, Sirius, and Bluetooth. If our phone was connected, it would show up there also. Moving back, we can direct tune. So we can tune to a different station a few different ways. We can direct tune here. There's a tuning knob down this way. And we've also got the ability to use the screen, or we can use the voice button on our steering wheel in order to do that as well. So all we're going to do is select whatever station we want to tune to and enter. And as you can see, it's changed the station. In order to save a station as a preset, all we're going to do is change to whatever station we want to save. We're just going to press and hold. And it's going to save that preset for us. So very, very straightforward. Moving into our climate settings. So a couple things to look at. We do have some settings. If we move down just a little bit, so you can see we've got some settings down here, but we've got the majority of the settings up in the console screen. So auto is automatically going to let the vehicle determine what the cabin temperature should be. When we get into the menu, that gives us our max AC. We can turn the heated steering wheel on or off from here. And we've also got the ability to go max windshield defrost. Moving over, we can turn the system on or off. And we've also got this dual button here. So dual means we're in dual zone climate control. So I'm just going to adjust the driver or the passenger side. So you can see there's a difference between the driver and passenger, but it's always going to default to the driver if we want to get rid of dual. All we're going to do, press that dual button. As you can see, it's taken the driver's side setting. Moving across, this is going to blow the air conditioning or the heat to our windshield, to our face, or to our feet. We've got our fan control setting on the screen, and we can also use the fan control setting moving down a little bit. This is going to be our air circulation button. So with the air circulation button turned on, it's going to, so it's off right now, which means it's going to pull air from outside the truck inside. With the circulation button on, it's going to circulate air throughout the cabin instead. This is going to be our rear window defroster. And then we've got our air conditioning button, air conditioning on or off. When it comes to phone, so as you can see, we don't have a phone connected. It's very straightforward to do that. So I'm just going to show you here. All we're going to do, so pull out your cell phone, add phone.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
Okay. So, oh, there we go. Nice and quick. Right at the very bottom here. So Ford F150 is shown up. All we're going to do, click on that.
Confirm that the pin displayed on sync matches the pin displayed on your device.
And as you can see, the pins match up, 807111, perfect. And we're gonna hit yes and pair.
For your safety, please stay alert to changing road conditions and use Sync's voice-activated features while your vehicle is in motion.
And that's it. So it's really that simple. So last one's gonna come up on the screen. Do you want to allow contacts and favorites to sync? Absolutely, we want to do that. And the phone is now connected. So a couple things to point out on the screen. We've got 911 Assist. With 911 Assist turned on, it's automatically going to dial 911 for us if the vehicle senses that we're in an accident. So I do recommend turning that one on, making sure that your phone's connected to the vehicle every time you hop in. Automatic contact download. If there's ever a change to our contacts, it'll automatically update that for us. As you can see, we've got all of my phone, my contacts are here. We've got my keypad, we can go text messages, we'll get Siri involved in this as well. So my phone is fully connected. So one thing to point out, if we go to our app screen, LiveX Live is now shown up. So that's an app that's on my phone. It's a radio app. You could also use Spotify, things like that. And you've got the ability to control that. So we can enable certain apps directly through the center console. Really, really neat. So it's going to play off of LiveX Live instead. So we can control it on our center console screen rather than using the app. So really, really neat that the vehicle does that.
Now playing station Foo Fighters radio.
Why, thank you. in order to be able to remove a phone. So there actually, before we do that, there are some things, mobile apps that'll work. Some of them you have to be plugged in on, some of them you can just do over Bluetooth. Waze is one of the apps that you can use through the center console screen. Really, really nice that it's got the capabilities to do that. So we've got our phone settings now. We can view all devices that are connected. So if we have multiple devices, it would show up. Manage contacts, text messages, etc. In order to remove a device, we're just going to go to our devices there, move into my phone. We can either disconnect or fully remove. So if we hit remove and yes, as you can see, it's completely removed my phone from the vehicle. Jumping back in here, my phone's no longer connected. So it's really that simple. Moving into navigation. So as I mentioned, navigation is going to come standard on the F-150 Lariat. It's going to be built in. So a couple ways that works. So navigation, we're just going to hit the search button at the top there. And all we're going to do is start typing in the address that you want to go to. Now, one of the things I recommend is pause every now and again because it will autocomplete and come up with the address for you. Just going to press the address there. Perfect. Now, we can save it as a favorite by pressing the star icon, or we can hit start in order to navigate to that destination point.
Obey traffic laws. Be alert and use voice commands while driving. Please proceed to the highlighted route, and then the route guidance will start.
There we go. So very, very straightforward. In order to be able to cancel out an existing route, we're just going to press this X button at the top. Cancel route, yes. And there we go. Moving our controls back up, we can now jump into our menu, which is going to give us a ton of options. So we've got basic navigation settings. So we've got our screen view traffic list, our navigation settings. Gives us a few different options. So map preferences. Do we want it to be 3D, the way that it looks right now? Do we want our point of interest icon showing? So that would be things like gas stations or coffee shops, etc. Do you want those showing up in the maps? Yes or no? When it comes to route preferences, it's what route do you prefer? Do you prefer the fastest, the shortest, the most eco-friendly route? Moving down, what don't you like when you're driving? Do you not like freeways? Do you want to avoid toll roads like the 407 and other roads? So you've got the ability to select that here. With your route preferences, it's going to create a map for you and a route for you based off of whatever preferences you've got. Lastly, navigation preferences are going to be our prompts. So as we come up to an upcoming turn, what happens? I guess it helps if I press the button. So do we get our voice and tones? Do we get voice only, or do we get tones only? Really, again, matter of personal preference there. That's going to be it for our navigation settings. We've got the ability to look at any previously done addresses, so we can look at our addresses there. We can delete all of them also. Very straightforward. Moving into our home and work now. So if we have our home and work addresses set up, we can press the voice command button on the steering wheel, and that's automatically going to navigate us to home or work if we've got those addresses saved. So it's a really, really useful feature to have. Moving into our settings. Sound settings are going to give us things like treble, mid-range, bass, so we've got the ability to modify those. Jumping back, we've got our clock settings. So as a default, it's going to be in our 12-hour time. If you prefer the military, so the 24-hour time mode, we've got the ability to do that by pressing that button. We can adjust 1 hour or 1 minute at a time and jump between AM and PM. Auto daylight savings time is automatically going to flip us into an hour forward or an hour back, depending on the time of year. When it comes to auto time zone update, it's automatically going to update the clock in the vehicle depending on the time zone, and that's based off of the GPS. So if you're heading to the West Coast or to the East Coast and the time zone is going to change, you don't have to manually go in and update the time, it'll do it for you. Bluetooth, very straightforward. We can turn the Bluetooth off completely, or we can add a device in, whether that's a cell phone or a Bluetooth-enabled MP3 player. Jumping back, phone, we've already been there. That's where we would go to add phones, delete them, etc. Radio gives us a few other options. So our radio text is what shows up when we are on a radio station. So this is our radio text. Whether or not that shows up is a matter of personal preference. Number of preset pages. As a default, it's by 2, so we can go up to 5 additional pages, or 5 total pages, I should say. It's going to just take a second to update. There we go. So as you can see here, we can now have up to 30 presets, whereas by default, it would have been 10 presets. And you can change between AM, FM, Sirius, XM, etc. on the preset page down there. Navigation, we've already been in those nav settings, so the map preferences, route preferences, etc. Jumping across, we've got our general settings. Looking into general settings for a second, we can change our language, so English, Spanish, or French, temperature units, Celsius, Fahrenheit, etc., whether or not this beep happens. So that's a matter of preference. We can get rid of the beep by pressing that button. I do recommend turning the automatic system updates on. That's automatically going to update the software and the firmware on the vehicle for you. Now, a couple things to note. In the 2020 F-150, the navigation will not update automatically over the air. You have to either get the shop to do it when the vehicle's serviced, or when you're at home, you can download the newest map release, and you can automatically do it by inserting a USB stick into the vehicle. Now, as I mentioned, the 2020 F-150 doesn't have the capability to update wirelessly, but the 2021 does. So if you're not really sure, if you're looking at the 2020 versus 2021, there is some great tech that's coming out in the 2021 model. Look at the video that's going to show up on screen here to learn a little bit more. Oh. Okay, a couple other things to point out. Automatic updates, as I mentioned, I do recommend turning that one on. And in order to do that, make sure that your vehicle is also connected to Wi-Fi at home. Ford Pass Connect, the vehicle does have a built-in modem, and we can use it as a wireless hotspot for up to 10 devices. All we're going to do, vehicle hotspot, we're going to turn it on, and you just have to be connected to a data plan. In Canada, it's going to be on the Bell network. Jumping into some basic vehicle settings. Nothing overly important or exciting in here. We can change the color of the ambient light inside the vehicle. We can change the door keypad code. It's going to be a 5-digit factory combination as a default. That one always is going to be there. And then we can add in multiple other codes if we need to. Voice control, 3 options. We've got our advanced mode, phone confirmation, and our voice command list. So I want you to listen up for a second. Tune to 97.7.
Tuning to FM 97.7.
So as you heard, we got a confirmation after we changed the radio station. But if we turn advanced mode on, that gets rid of a lot of those notifications that we get. So let's change it again. Tune to 94.9. All right, so as you heard, we didn't get that confirmation, but as you can see, it did change the station for us. So voice control, with our advanced mode on, we just won't get as many prompts, so that's a personal preference of mine. Phone confirmation, when we make a phone call, will it confirm the person we're dialing? Yes, make sure you do that. Voice command list is going to be this list that comes up. Whether or not that one comes up or not is really, again, going to be a matter of personal preference. Valet mode, with Valet mode enabled, it's essentially going to lock the screen out. You enter in a 4-digit PIN, and done. 1, 2, 3, 4. Please don't use 000 or 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we go. So as you can see here, so we've entered that PIN and it's now locked the screen out. So I can't do anything. Even if I turn the vehicle on and back off again, this screen is locked out. In order to be able to unlock it, I need to re-enter that 4-digit PIN, and it's unlocked it from Valet mode for us. Hey, a couple things to point out. At the very top, we've got our traction control button, so we can turn traction control on or off. This is going to be for our 4-way blinkers, so we've got the ability to turn those blinkers on or off. Auto start stop, so the vehicle is equipped with that setting. If you don't like it, you can turn it off on a case-by-case basis. So when you turn the power off to your truck, you turn it back on again, it's going to turn the switch off. So the auto engine start stop, the engine will cut power. This button is going to be for our lane keeping system. So the vehicle is equipped with that system. Moving down now, a couple things to point out. Let's move down a tiny little bit. So off to our left-hand side. So we've got our volume rocker. So we can adjust the volume using this knob. We can turn the power on or off also. So if we jump into our audio, actually let's jump to the home screen. So pressing that button is going to turn the audio on or off. This is going to be our preset, so we can change between different available presets. This is going to allow us to seek. So if we're in our AM/FM mode, we can choose between different stations. We can also press this media button in order to change between AM/FM or Sirius XM. If we want to change a tune to a stations, we can do that a couple ways. In our audio, we can do a direct tune, or we can use this knob down here in order to be able to tune to that station instead. Moving down a tiny little bit. No, we do have, let's go up a little. So we've got our dual zone climate control. So let's jump into climate so you can see how that works. So if our driver, as you can see, so driver's side, it's not in dual zone, so it's going to adjust both. As we adjust the passenger, it's going to turn on that dual setting. and it's always going to default to whatever the driver's setting is. Moving down though, we've got our power button, so that's going to turn the system on or off. This gives us the ability to blow the fan to our windshield, to our face, or to our feet. Our air circulation button, max air conditioning, or our regular air conditioning. Now, one of the nice things about the Lariat is that it does have heated and cooled front seats. Really, really nice. At the very bottom here, so our blue is going to be for our cooled seats, whereas the red is going to be for our heated seats. Last button to point out is going to be our fan, so we can turn our fan up or down by pressing the buttons instead of using the screen. Again, really a matter of personal preference where you do it. Looking at this now, all we're going to do is lock that into place, and as you can see here, so we've got a couple of USB ports and a place to hold our cell phone. And we're just going to press that in order to close it down. We've got a little storage area as well as our cup holders. Moving along to the side, on our passenger side, we've got our traditional cigarette lighter adapter, as well as a wall outlet. So if we need to power a traditional device using an outlet, we can do that inside of the F-150. Along our left-hand side at the very bottom, we've got our integrated brake controller. So if our trailer has electronic braking, we've got the ability to control the brakes using this little knob. Moving up, we've got our trailer backup assist. So rather than counter steering the steering wheel the direction you want the trailer to go, all we would do is twist this knob and it's automatically going to counter steer for us. Moving up, we've got our series of settings. So our 2 high, 4 auto, 4 high, 4 low. Now as a default, the only one that's going to be different in the F-150 Lariat is this 4A setting. So you're normally going to be driving in 2 high pretty much all the time. 4 high setting, really the only time you want to use that one is if it's in deep snow conditions. 4 low is if you're off-roading or if you're carrying if you're towing something that's very heavy. 4 auto is essentially electronic 4 auto, so 4x4 mode. It's automatically going to let the vehicle determine if we should be in all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, or our rear-wheel drive. So 4 auto setting is going to allow the vehicle to choose for us. As we move down a tiny little bit, we've got our gear shifter, so we've got our park, reverse, neutral, drive, or our M. So for our manual mode. Manual mode gives us the ability to, as you can see, we've got a plus or minus button, so we can increase or decrease whatever gear we're in. So we are in a 10-speed system, so we can control that by pressing this plus or minus button. Now, one other button to point out is going to be our terrain management. So by pressing the button, we've got the ability to change our drive modes. So from normal, tow, haul, snow, wet, eco, sport, and then back to our normal drive mode. Okay, next up, let's take a quick peek at the steering wheel. Starting off on the bottom left-hand side, we have our adaptive cruise control settings. So the vehicle that we're looking at does have the adaptive cruise built into it. If we didn't have the adaptive cruise control, these buttons would go away and it would be your traditional cruise control instead. One of the big benefits of the adaptive is that it's essentially a set it and forget it cruise control. So if the vehicle in front of you slows down, and let's say you have it set to 120, they slow down, it's going to automatically slow down your vehicle. If they get out of the way or change lanes, it'll pick you right back up to your set speed again. So that's one of the nice things about the adaptive cruise. We know that the system is on when we press that button. As you can see there, it highlights on or off. These buttons are going to let you to determine how far or how close you are from the vehicle that's in front of you. So it's based off of the cameras that are in front of the truck, but it allows you to set if you want to be closer or further away from that vehicle. Once you're up to speed, you can just press the set button in order to set your speed at whatever your preferred speed is. You can increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time. When you're driving, we can cancel out that cruise control, or we can turn the system off completely by pressing the on-off button again. Off to our right-hand side, very bottom buttons, we've got the ability to either answer a phone call or we can hang up on a phone call. This is going to be our mute button, so if we've got the audio up, we can press this button. Of course, there's no song playing, but we can mute by pressing this button. We can also increase or decrease our volume by using the rocker knob here on the steering wheel. Next up, this is going to be our voice-activated button, so we can do that, press that button in order to be able to do a couple things. So we can use it for navigation, if we wanted to make a phone call, if we want to change radio stations, etc. There are a ton of things that you can do using voice-activated navigation, using that voice-activated button. Moving up to the top on the right-hand side, we've got the ability to either change between stations, or if we've got an MP3 player or our phone connected, it'll allow us to change between songs or stations, whatever the case may be. In the middle is going to be our mode button, so that lets us change between either AM, FM, Sirius, XM, if we had our cell phone connected, etc. Off to our left-hand side, this is going to be the directional pad to control this center instrument cluster screen. So let's zoom in there. Now we can use that to go up and down, left and right.
So let's start off first off on our trip counter. So the trip counter obviously is going to let us know, based off of our current trip, what our settings are. In order to be able to reset the trip counter, we're just going to press and hold the OK button. And there we go. As you can see, it's reset it down to these basic values here. So obviously that 99.9 liters per 100 is very, very inaccurate. And the reason why is because I'm sitting here idling the truck. So as you get moving, it is going to be very, very better fuel economy in comparison. Moving down, we've got a few different things. We can view our fuel economy. If our trailer was connected, we can configure different screens by pressing that button, looking into the My View. Moving to the right, now we've got some trip fuel information, so we can change between our trip 1, trip 2, our fuel economy, fuel history, our compass, and then our auto start stop. So auto start stop is currently engaged. We can turn that off on one of our settings just off to the right hand side, or you can also press the auto start stop button, this one, in order to be able to turn that off. Again, it's by a case basis. It will reset it to turn it back on when the truck's turned off and then back on again. Moving over, we've got some basic truck info. So we've got a different gauge view. So if we wanted to look at our turbo, we can look at our tire pressure. Ooh, that's tire pressure's off just a little bit there. Digital speedometer, and then we've got some basic engine idle info. Moving to the right again, we've got towing information. So we've got our current towing status, our trailer information. Obviously no trailer is currently connected, which is why it's showing no information there. Trailer setup. One of the big reasons why you would want to do this, a couple different things. So with the Lariat, we've got the blind spot indicating system. So these little guys, which are going to come standard. So when somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the truck, it's going to highlight orange, letting us know that somebody's entered our blind spot. When you have the trailer dimensions set up, it's going to extend that blind spot to cover the trailer dimensions as well. So if somebody has entered the blind spot on the trailer, it will indicate orange, letting you know that somebody's entered your blind spot. So I absolutely recommend setting your trailer dimensions up in this towing menu here. One more over, we've got our off-road. So off-road status and power distribution, very, very useful if you're using off-roading if you're using the truck to do some off-roading. And moving over to our settings. So basic settings, we've got a ton of things to cover off. Very first one is going to be our cross-traffic alert. So if there's a vehicle coming perpendicular, so either from the left or from the right, we're going to get an indication letting us know that there's a potential collision. Driver alert is tied into our lane keeping system. So if we get too many alerts with our lane keeping system letting us know that we're veering over into a lane without signaling, the vehicle is going to tell us that we should probably rest. The rear parking aid is that beeping that we get as we back up. Trailer blind spot, that's where when your trailer's connected, it's going to extend the blind spot on those side view mirrors to cover off the trailer. So if you're towing something, I absolutely recommend make sure that you keep that one turned on. Pre-collision assist, absolutely recommend this one also. So pre-collision assist, if you're potentially going to get in a collision and the vehicle senses it, it's going to actively brake for you. Huge, huge benefit there, because if you can't react to a collision for whatever reason, maybe you passed out behind the wheel, or let's say if you just didn't see a potential collision, if someone cuts out in front of you, slams on their brakes, etc., the vehicle will react for you. And moving back, we've got our cruise control. So we've got the adaptive versus the normal. So adaptive cruise control, we do have it set. We do have the adaptive cruise control, so there's no reason not to use it. But if you're old school, you prefer that normal cruise control where you have to constantly reset your speed, you can change that out. Moving down, Dte calculation for towing. Obviously not towing anything right now, so don't need to worry about that. We've got some gauge selections, so either our turbo or our transmission gauge. So if we hit the turbo gauge, so as you can see, that has shown up on the very top right-hand side. Lane keeping system is turned on also. We've got 3 different settings, so we can either go for an alert, an aid, or both an alert and the aid. So the alert is essentially just going to be a steering wheel shake. So it's almost like you've run over rumble pavement on the highway, so that kind of like that jutted out pavement where it feels like you're kind of shaking like crazy. That's what the alert feels like. So it's essentially there just to kind of wake you up and jolt you up. The aid is going to recenter you and pull you back into your lane, whereas the alert and the aid will do both. So it's going to give you a little bit of a steering wheel shake while pulling you back into your lane. A few different intensities. We've got our normal, high, or low. Play around with those settings to get your own personal preference. When we get into our advanced settings, we've got a number of different things. So our vehicle, this is where we can turn the auto engine off here. Blind spot system, that's going to be that side view mirror letting us know if somebody's entered the blind spot. Our easy entry exit are going to be whether or not the steering wheel and the seat back up in order to be able to let us get in and out of the vehicle a little bit easier. So when you press the power button to turn the vehicle off, it's going to slide the seat back to its max setting for you to be able to get out a little bit easier. Lighting are going to be, so a couple of things. We've got our auto high beams. I absolutely recommend keeping this one turned on. Can you pull the stick to turn the high beams on? Absolutely, but with auto high beams, it's automatically going to turn the high beams on and then dim them as necessary. So if the car senses an oncoming vehicle at night and it's got the high beams on, it'll automatically start to dim them before turning them off and then flipping them right back on automatically for you. The auto lamp delay, when the truck is locked, what happens? Does the lamp stay on? Do the lamp stay on, I should say, for 10, 20, or 120 seconds? Moving down, we've got some lock settings, so our auto unlock and then our remote unlock. So when we remote unlock, is it the driver's door or all doors that become unlocked? Oil life reset, pretty straightforward. When you have an oil change done, that's going to reset. Alarm, all sensors, perimeter sensors. So all sensors are going to be the exterior and the interior sensors versus our perimeter. So those are going to be just the outside sensors. Remote start, when the vehicle's remote started, do we want the system on or off at the bottom? Yes or no? If the vehicle's remote started, what happens? Climate control, is that going to come on? Yes. Auto setting, which means that the vehicle is automatically going to determine what the cabin temperature should be versus our last setting. So when the truck was last turned off, what were the settings that it was turned to? Front seats and wheel, do we want our heated steering wheel to come on or our heated or cooled seats if those were on previously? And then how long does the remote start last for? 5, 10, or 15 minutes? Moving down, we've got our wiper control. So courtesy wipe, when the truck's first turned on, it's going to give us one wipe. I do recommend keeping that one off, especially during the winter months. And then we've got our rain sensing wipers also. So the rain sensing wipers, essentially the vehicle is going to determine how fast or slow the windshield wipers should be going. We do have the ability to use our left stick in order to be able to adjust the windshield wipers from there. There we go, we've got this button just on the very end. That's going to be for our windshield wiper fluid. And that's going to be our basic vehicle settings. My key allows you to set up certain limitations for a specific key. Where that comes into play is, let's say if you're lending the vehicle out, you don't want people to go more than 100 kilometers an hour, you can essentially limit the speed using the My Key settings. That's going to be the basics for our settings. Okay, looking up overhead. So first things first, we do have our visor, which does have our programmable settings. So if you do have a garage door opener at home, you've got the ability to program the code in here. So very, very straightforward. Shifting over to our right-hand side. So the vehicle does have a series of different perimeter sensors. So one of the benefits of using these proximity sensors is, let's say if the windows are rolled down and the truck is locked, then if somebody reaches in, it's going to sound the alarm for you. Now the Lariat does have, the XLT has the ability to do it as well. It's going to be that back window, so that power window. And moving back up overhead, a couple more things to point out. We've got our sunglasses holder. And then we can get into our cabin lighting. So let's move up a tiny little bit. This button is going to be for our left light, for our right light. This is going to be all cabin lights coming on. This one is whether or not the cabin lights come on when the doors are open. Moving over, we've got so the vehicle does have the twin panel moonroof on here, as you can see. Beautiful, beautiful view. When it comes to the buttons, these ones are going to control the shade. So single button press is going to open or close the shade. So shade is now closed, pressing away. So the button on the far right is going to let us open that shade back up. So single button press opens it up halfway. One more button press will open it up that remaining way. And a few buttons to look at. So the one that's furthest away is going to give us the ability to close the moonroof. This is going to be able to pop it up. So if we just need to vent out the vehicle, or we can press this one in order to, let's actually close first, and press here in order to be able to open it up. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So single button press will open it up the majority of the way. One more button press will open it up that last tiny little bit. And then same thing, one button press will close it up. Woo. All right guys, now time for the fun part. Let's take this thing for a spin and see how it handles. Now I'm a little bit excited about the test drive in this thing specifically. Big reason why is because it is the Lariat, which is it's just great. It's a beautiful truck. It's super comfortable. How do you go wrong? Beautiful leather seats. And again, whether you look at the Lariat or the XLT, it's going to depend obviously on what your budget is for a truck, and then obviously what your needs are, because if you don't care about the leather seats, you can get away with the XLT. If you prefer the leather, you could look at the Lariat as a base entry in order to get you into a leather vehicle, a truck with a leather interior, I should say. If you're looking for something a little bit nicer, that's when you'd be looking at either the King Ranch, the Limited, the Platinum. If you want to go big, you could look at the Raptor as an option. The Raptor is a really, really nice truck. One thing to note about the Raptor is that it is considered a power sport vehicle. So if you're considering that as an option, you do need to find a dealer that deals with power sport vehicles specifically. Oh, that's nice. These trailer tow mirrors, I wasn't really sure what I would think of them, but they're actually kind of cool. Obviously useful if you're towing something, but if you're not towing whatsoever, you can get away with just the basic mirror that comes with the F-150 Lariat. Now, one thing to note is that with the F-150 Lariat, you are going to get the heated side view mirrors as well. So very, very useful if you're in Canada or northern US where we get snow all the time in the winter. So just as a nice way to melt off all of that snow and ice buildup on those side view mirrors. This is nice though. So one thing to note, this one does have the 3.5 liter engine in it, so the EcoBoost engine. It's a powerful, really, really powerful truck. So 12,500 pound towing capacity based off of the configuration that we're looking at here. So plenty powerful, can tow a ton of things obviously as well. Now, when it comes down to what type of vehicle should you get for towing, it really depends on what your needs are. Like if you're only looking at towing 5,000 pounds, you can use the 5 liter V8, you can use the 3 liter turbo diesel. So it really depends on what your towing needs are for a truck. Oh, that's super comfortable though. Oh yeah, there we go. Even more so once you set it up properly. Oh yeah. A couple things, I will be playing with the adaptive cruise control on this drive as we get out into the highway, just so you can see what it's like. But the adaptive cruise control, I absolutely love it. Like, let's call it the way it is. It's a set it and forget it cruise control. If you're the type of person where you're driving and you tend to speed a little bit, adaptive cruise kind of plays with your head a little bit from a psychological perspective. Because if you've got it set to, let's say, $120, 130 on the highway, and if there's a vehicle that's in front of you that's going a little bit slower, subconsciously you'll still think you're going fast, but the truck is automatically going to slow you down to pace the vehicle in front of you. So it's a really, really smart system from that perspective. I love the adaptive cruise side of things. Any vehicle, whether you're looking at a truck or looking at an Escape. So anything kind of in between there works really nicely. So one thing to point out is that, let's turn this off here. One thing to point out is that the auto start stop system is currently turned on, but it's not engaged. It doesn't happen often. It's, again, up to the truck when it decides to turn that system on or off. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's really nice. I love the cooled seats. That's something honestly, like I've absolutely fallen in love with. Leather with cooled seats. Beautiful. Very, very comfortable seating. So it's how can you go wrong? Again, it's really going to depend on, I've said it a couple times, what are your needs? What are your needs? What are your budget? What's your budget? Because looking at a fairly fully loaded F-150 like what we've got right now, so the Lariat, you're at about before we look at any sort of incentives, a $75,000 price tag. So it's a pricey vehicle. Now, having said that, if you get an equally built XLT, so if you're okay with the cloth seats versus the leather seats, fully loaded, comparable, you're looking at about $62,000 before incentives. So your $10,000, $12,000 difference between the two trucks, whether you're at the XLT level or at the Lariat. So again, it is. It's really going to depend on what you need out of a truck and what your budget is. This is nice. I do wish charging pad would be nice, wireless charging pad, but is it a necessity? No. We've got a ton of USB ports here, so you've got the capabilities to be able to charge up if you need to. We've got some chargers in the front, USB. Just off to the side, we've got a traditional cigarette lighter adapter and your regular wall outlet. So there are tons of charging options already built into this truck. Ooh, I'm not gonna make it. Nope. This guy's gonna stop. Oh. Well, let's chat it out for another second here while we wait for this. Okay, so auto start stop. Same idea. Auto start stop is there. The system is turned on, but it's not actually engaged as of right now. Doesn't happen all the time. Oh yeah, he's going. You don't care. All right, here we go. Tons of room between me and the car in front of me, so I'm going to open it up just a teeny little bit. Like a little bit. Have a little bit of fun. Ah! Okay, here we go. Oh yeah. Damn. All right, that's nice. Okay, so adaptive cruise. I'm going to set the adaptive cruise. And we're gonna go max distance. So as of right now, so I've got it set to 105 kilometers an hour. The truck is only traveling at about 100 right now. And that's because the truck that's in front of me, as you can see there, it's keeping me distance fairly nicely from that truck in front of me. If I close up the distance, so to get a little bit closer, it's gonna pick me up to speed a little bit. But again, same thing, it's not picking me up too much, and it's gonna start slowing me down now as well. So I've got it set to 105, truck in front of me is going about 95. It's getting out of the way, which means I should pick up speed a little bit. Let's see. There we go, as you can see, so it's automatically picking me up. My foot's off the gas, automatically picks me back up to my set speed. And then just by pressing this off button, that's going to turn it off. So that's one of the beautiful things about the adaptive cruise control is that it's a set it and forget it cruise. So you set it at 105, 120, whatever the case may be. If the vehicle in front of you slows down, yours will automatically brake. I can't stress that enough, how beautiful this system is and how amazing it works. So nice, so nice. Where are you guys going? Just goes, I love it. Now, like I said, this is the 3.5 liter engine inside of this truck. You will get some very good performance out of the 2.7, but ultimately what kind of performance you get is going to be, it's going to depend on A, what you're towing, and then what your configuration is. So when you're talking to a Ford representative, make sure that you let them know exactly what it is that you're looking for out of the truck. What features do you want? What things do you need out of it? What kind of performance do you want? There are a ton of things that you should be considering when you're looking at buying a truck. Oh, what is this guy gonna try to do? Well, that doesn't look good. He's gonna try to pull a Yui. He's gonna try to pull a Yui with traffic. Dude, you can't do that. Let's shame this guy. I hope I got the license plate there. Shame on you, bud. I love that. I love that I've got this thing recorded. That's it. It's people are, oh, the road is mine. I can do what I want. It's just my old man ranting at this point now. I remember back in my day. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, this is nice though. It's a beautiful, beautiful ride. So the conversation obviously is there just because of time of year. Do you look at a 2020 versus a 2021? That really is going to depend on what you want or what you need out of a truck. If you like to have the latest and greatest technology, I would 100% recommend waiting for the 2021s to come out. That Sync 4 system with the larger 12-inch screen is going to be a huge, huge difference. In the 2021s in Sync 4, you've got the ability to upgrade the maps, or update the maps, I should say, over air. So rather than having to physically be plugged in or having your Ford service rep do it for you, the vehicle will automatically do it. So it's part of the over-the-air updates that would come normally. So again, if that technology doesn't matter for you, you could really snag an amazing deal right now on available 2020 models. But having said that, factory orders as of today, I believe, are closed up, or if they're not closed up right now, they will be within the next week or so. We've kind of hit that time where factory orders have to be in. If they're not already in, you're pretty much SOL on a factory order 2020. So you are at the mercy of whatever's currently out there in the world of Ford. Very, very nice. Beautiful handling. Can't really go wrong. This is nice all the way around. Ugh. One thing to point out, so as you can see there, we do have a warning in that center cluster screen. If you ever do get any warnings, any messages, etc., the OK button on the steering wheel, we would just press that in order to get rid of any messages that might show up. Oh, hello. That is literally the second R8 that I've seen in like a week. That is a nice, nice car. Very, very nice car. Ugh, beautiful, beautiful. There we go. So overall impressions of the truck, it's amazing. If you're looking at a truck that's got leather interior, it's built in North America, assembled in North America, the F-150 is a really, really good option. Whether or not you get the 2.7 engine, the 5-liter V8, the 3-liter turbo diesel, or the 3.5-liter EcoBoost is going to depend on whatever needs you've got based off of what specs you need for the truck. If you're getting a truck just for the sake of getting a truck, you could get away with just the 2.7-liter engine. If you prefer diesel, there is that 3-liter turbo diesel available as an option also. Nice all around the board though. Oh no. Come on, bud. You are in a weird spot, fella. What are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go? I'm going this way. Hilarious. What are you doing, fella? This guy don't know. This guy don't know what he's doing. Yeah, go. Okay, with the 3 inches of space that you left me there. Thanks, bud. What a guy. Alright, let's make sure. Perfect. There we go. It would have been tight in that 6.5-foot box. Oh. Alright, let's get her back in safely. So it's really, really useful to get that sensing system. Especially in a pickup truck. Obviously, if you're going to be towing something all the time, it's irrelevant. But if you're not towing, it's a really, really good choice. Boom. There we go. Well, guys, that was the full review, the full overview of the 2020 F-150 Lariat. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, make sure you ask them down below. I'm very, very open to getting back to people. If you have any comments, suggestions, ideas for future videos, drop it down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like it and make sure that you subscribe because it does help the channel grow. Until I see you next time, stay safe.